Hey guys, Happy Dude here. Now my computer is getting a bit old and therefore a bit slower. So let's see if we can make it faster just by putting in some more RAM. They used to say that in the olden days, just put some more RAM in it to make it faster, and that's because it's very easy to do and also very cheap. But does that actually work? That's what I want to find out today. So, what do we have here? Well, we got a X570 aorus motherboard and a Ryzen CPU 3700X with 8 cores and a 1080 Ti and 16 gigabyte 2x8 with a speed of 3600 megahertz. So let's do some benchmarks first. And here you can see my score in Geekbench 6. Here's my single core and multi-core score and what's inside my system, so you can see I'm not lying. I didn't film the test to save time, and it's pretty boring to watch. It takes a while, so... And here's all the details of the test, so we can compare it afterwards when we have some more RAM in my system. Alright, now let's do Cinebench R15. This benchmark is pretty old, so it's perfect for my old CPU. Let's run the test. I'm filming this with my camera, so we don't take any resources away from the PC while it's doing the test. It shouldn't take long. As you can see, it's pretty fast. I'm very curious to see the result. And it's done. And we have a score of 2082. That's more than when I did it a few years ago. Nice, so the CPU is actually getting faster. Okay, I did the test 5 more times since it doesn't take that long, and I actually beat my score. It's now 2108, so that's the highest score yet. So that's the one to beat when we have some more memory in there. Okay, now let's try Cinebench R20. This one is a bit heavier to run, and go! Wow, this one actually takes a while before it starts. Yeah. Oh, black screen. Yeah, there we go. As you can see, this one is going to be a bit slower. I'm actually curious how many resources we are using for this test. So the CPU is 100% and the memory is 7.7 gig of the 16 gigabyte. Okay. And bam, we're done. And my score is 4775. And that's also a bit more than a few years ago. Nice. Okay, so after a few times, this is my highest score yet. 4820 points. Not bad. Now let's do Cinebench R23. This one can do multi-core and single core. Let's just do multi-core. This one also takes a while to start up. And there we go. Oh, it's actually pretty fast. Oh, this benchmark actually does multiple passes. We're now on pass 4. And there's a timer, so it does it for 10 minutes. And this test takes up 7.4 gigabyte of RAM memory. And we're done. It did a total of 10 passes and the score is 12,337. Ooh, it did better than an Intel Core i9. And now we're gonna try Cinebench 2024, and this one can actually test single core, multi-core, and GPU also. Nice. So let's just do multi-core. Start. Preparing. Well, it's still preparing. I have a feeling that this one is going to take a while. Oh, we got some pictures. Nice. And ooh, this one gives you a time. About 10 minutes. Yeah, we're not going to film that. That's going to take too long. Oh my god. This test takes up almost 12 gigabyte of memory. That's a heavy benchmark. Wow, it's finally done. It took a bit longer than 10 minutes because it also does a second pass. And the score now, well, my best score is 732. Okay, now let's try a game. I wanted to use Cyberpunk, but I think that's a bit too much for my old PC, so let's use good old Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I wanted a game that uses a lot of CPU and RAM and also has a built-in benchmark. So the settings are at 1080p and the graphics are at the highest to put as much stress as possible in this test. All right, let's do run benchmark. For such an old game, it actually looks pretty beautiful. As you can see, my old 3700X and my 1080 Ti have no trouble with this game. 100 FPS easily. Wow, 200 FPS. And here are the results. So the settings were all on the highest. And here are the frames rendered. This is the average FPS. And here are the specs. Now the reason why we put the resolution at 1080p is because that puts the most stress on the CPU. If we put that any higher, then the stress goes more to the GPU, like in 1440p or in 4K. That puts all the stress on the GPU and not the CPU. So that's why we're going to use 1080p. Alright, now it's time to put some more RAM in there. So we have 2 times 8 gigabyte of the same brand that's in there now, Trident Z Royale. But I don't think the timings are the same as what's in there right now. Let's check that first. And just to be safe, we're gonna switch off the power supply. Now for every motherboard it's a bit different for the order of the memory sticks. Sometimes it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but for this one it's 2, 4 and 1 and 3. Don't mind the dust, and let's see what is in there. I'm very curious. Oh no, the sticker is gone. But I think it was something like C18 and this one is 16D. Anyway, it's pretty close. It doesn't matter if it's the same, the computer is just going to take the slowest value. Before you put them in, make sure you have both plastic buttons pressed in so you can slide in the memory stick so you don't break anything. And also make sure that this little gap here lines up so you don't break your motherboard or your memory stick. And then we also line this up right here. And then don't be scared to put some pressure on there and you will hear a click. Sorry, I couldn't film the click. It takes up a lot of force to push it in. I actually needed both my hands to do it at the same time. Now, let's put in the new memory. I actually couldn't buy 2 times 8 gigabyte. It was all sold out, so I actually had to go to eBay. So it's secondhand, and I'm hoping it's going to work. Otherwise, all this work was for nothing. It was actually pretty smart of me back in the day to build the water lines in such a way so we have room to add or remove the RAM sticks. So it's not a coincidence. I actually did that on purpose. I knew it would come in handy someday. I just love it when all memory lanes are occupied. Alright, let's start it up. The beeps are memory training. Yeah, they all light up. Very nice. So memory training, yeah, can take a while. You'll be hearing a lot of beeps. That's all normal. Yeah, here's the memory training log. Listen to all those air bubbles. My CPU pump hasn't worked this hard in a very long time. Okay, the PC restarted successfully, so now I'm going to check the BIOS. Yeah, extreme memory profile has been reset. Well, all the settings have been reset, so let's just enable that again. Okay, now we have the full memory speed. Okay, after I saved that setting, we got some more restarts and memory training, and Windows itself is saying that I'm only having 16 gigabyte, but according to CPU-Z, I actually do have 32 gigabyte. Okay, something is wrong, so I'm going to shut down the computer, take all the RAM sticks out, and just blow into the slots. Maybe there's some dust in there, and then just try again. Okay, we're now in the BIOS, and extreme profile is still on. Let's go to advanced memory settings, go to info. Okay, so we have the data on A1, also on A2. We didn't have that before, it was empty. Yes, and also on B1 and B2. So now everything should be fine. And just as I suspected, now it's showing up 32 gigabyte into Windows 10. So there definitely was something wrong. And Geekbench also says I have 32 gigabyte. So let's just run the test. This is going to take a while, so we will return when it's finished. Okay, so the single core score is about the same, but look at the multi-core score. It used to be 8,275, now it's 9,500. Wow, that's a big score difference. And here you can see the score difference between all the tests. Okay, now let's do Cinebench R15 with all that extra memory installed. Bam, bam, bam. And this is the highest score I could get in R15, 2113. So it seems that it's working. And now it's time for Cinebench R20. Let's go! And we're done. And the score is 4,842, and before it was 4,820. So let's try it a few more times to see if we can improve that score. Okay, so after a few times, my highest score is 4,857. So that's only a little bit better, but nevertheless, it's a higher score. Okay, let's try Cinebench R23. This one is going to take a while. Okay, R23 is done, and it seems that this score is a little bit lower, so that's our first loss. Okay, now it's time for the last Cinebench 2024. Let's go! And Cinebench 2024 is done, and we got a score of 764, so that's a little bit higher than the previous 731. So another small victory here. And now it's time for the last test, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So the settings are still exactly the same, everything is at its highest. So let's run the benchmark. And here are the results. So the test was done in 1080p with the settings on its highest, and here are the frames rendered. So we actually got 200 more, and the average FPS is now 123, so 1 more FPS. So, did you guys expected that the scores would be higher? Please let me know in the comments below. The next step is now to buy a new CPU. It's probably gonna be the 5900 XT. We can't go any higher on this AM4 platform, but that CPU has 16 cores.